It's Wednesday. We're almost halfway home. After having the Monday off the previous week and then going back to 5 days, like, right, but we're almost there. We're ascending out of this week. Okay. We're going to John. We had Mark, we had Luke, and now we're in John. I wonder if we'll get Matthew in the next 2 days. Oh, I know anticipation's killing you. John 11. This is the story of Lazarus. But we're not going to focus on the section you would think. The Psalm 130, the next step, is I will wait for you, O Lord, right? That God's action, we coming out of the depths. In God there's forgiveness and redemption, and promises are true. So we will wait for this action. We will be patient, I know. Patience is something that no one wants when they need it. Times like these, we're ready to be at the top. We don't need to do all these steps. But that's not the way the world works. That's not the way God necessarily works. Sometimes complex solutions require, complex problems require complex solutions, and those take time. Anyway, enough philosophy talk. I want to specifically focus on 11:6 of this Lazarus story. Before we get to Jesus raising Lazarus, come out, and he's raised. Before we get to Jesus consoling Mary and Martha, Lord, if you'd been here, brother would not have died. Before we get to all that, Jesus is out teaching a way, and he hears that Lazarus is ill in verse 2, right? And the message is sent, he finds out. In verse 5, accordingly, though Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus, notice. After having heard that Lazarus was ill, verse 6, Jesus stayed 2 days longer in the place where he was. This passage has always bothered me, and I know I shared this when we had this text last year, but you probably don't remember. It was it feels like an eternity ago, and it was probably only a year, but this always bothered me. Why does Jesus, having heard that someone he loves is terminally ill, waits another 2 days? I don't know. If I hear my loved ones are ill, I'm dropping everything and getting there. And it always bothered me. Then I discovered, in reading this text, right, that ending that we get. So we're going to fast forward here. Okay, so we've risen. Okay, great. Sorry, it was that moment that Rex decided he needed to go out right now. Oh, God. I mean, I'm glad things are picking up again, right? Okay, so back to finding out. The ending, and we'll cut out the suspense, right? Because it's magic technology. So, after Jesus has raised Lazarus, that whole, she's great disturbed, weeps, mourns with them, this moment of faith, raised Lazarus, right? It's this big thing. The plot to kill Jesus starting in verse 45, right? The Jewish authorities had seen this, and the man's performing many signs. They're like, holy cow, he's even raising the dead. In this line here in verse 50, you do understand that it is better for you to have one man die than for the people, than have the whole nation destroyed. Right? This is this conversation that the leaders are having. He's a threat to our temple system, a threat to Rome. The good deal you got going here. If Rome gets cranky, you're going to come down hard on us all. It's better that we kill this Jesus, even though he's raising the dead. We don't know where it's coming from, right? And in verse 53, so from that day on, they planned to put him to death. Jesus waits to raise Lazarus. Now, Jesus does this knowing he can raise Lazarus, okay? So it's not complete neglect. But also, Jesus waits so the fullness of everything that should happen comes to pass. If Jesus came right away, perhaps the Jewish authorities had not gathered yet. Right? The word moved slow back then. If they had, Jesus might have beaten them there and they would not have seen it. Part of this story Jesus isn't just waiting to be cruel to Lazarus. Part of the story is to have this miracle be witnessed by those who will eventually put him to death. To have this be the last straw. So yes, in one sense, Jesus waits, as we wait on God to act, Jesus waits for the right time for God's action, not only to raise Lazarus, but also so it can set in motion the ultimate plan of the cross. That gets left out in the lectionary. But John's intentional about it. This was it. This was the moment when they're like, we got to kill this guy. And the resurrection doesn't happen without death. All right. So we wait on God too. We wait on God's action in our lives. We've seen God acting. We wait for the final fulfillment as we ascend out of COVID. See you tomorrow.